I'm Scott Kerr, and you're listening to Facing the Giants, a podcast where I speak to today's luxury entrepreneurs about taking on the Goliaths of the industry. My guest on Facing the Giants is David Barton, an entrepreneur and fitness guru who revolutionized the modern gym concept. David has a long history in the fitness industry since he opened his first gym in the Chelsea neighborhood of New York City back in 1992. His obsession with the evolution of exercise is matched only by his compulsion to create a captivating nightclub atmosphere. Barton's latest venture, Gym U, is a luxury gym that takes a scientific approach to health and training, catering to the urban sophisticate seeking serious results. The New York Times once crowned David Barton as the man who made working out cool. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
So happy you can join me. Yeah, I want to jump back a little bit. I'll call it a trip down memory lane. So when you opened your first gym in the early 90s, the gym scene was quite different then. It was the time of super gyms like Equinox Fitness Club and Crunch Fitness, where dozens of people crowd into rooms jammed with treadmills and Stairmasters. What were you doing at that time, and why did you decide to open a gym?
I had been a trainer when I got out of college. I was going to go to grad school, and I saw this ad for trainers. I became a trainer where I worked for two different gyms for $5 an hour. I thought, this is great. I get to make a buck working in the gym. But I went out on my own so that I could afford to pay my rent. And I saw that my first gym opened in 1992. I saw there was a market of people who had more taste than money. People were starting to have options. You know, there was a boutique hotel movement. You know, people who had a style or were just appreciated style or were fans thereof could have some options. And I knew people who wouldn't be caught dead in the gym, these
Right.
gyms that you mentioned. And so I just wanted to make it okay for people that I knew to go to the gym. I came out of the nightclub world and just coming from a different theme than the one where the gym goers were coming from. So I really opened up a gym for them, used my savings as a trainer. A couple of people kicked in a few dollars, and I opened it up on a shoestring. But I'd been training people, and so I had gotten a following, became a successful New York trainer. So I sort of had this built-in audience when I opened up the gym.
Basically, you saw some kind of gap in the market.
Well, yeah, I opened it up really for these like cool downtown people that were too cool to go to the gym.
Right.
So it was really for them, although it wound up attracting this whole other audience, which is another whole other story.
Right.
But also I come from this nightclub scene where people were literally living in the nightclub, seeing their friends there, and this is New York in the '80s was a whole different kind of social scene where you saw your friends out at night. I knew people, that wasn't going to last forever. I thought people needed a place to socialize and hang out by day. So this was like, as opposed to nightlife, this was day life. This was a place where you could go and kind of feel like you were part of something, but you didn't have to stay out till 5 a.m.
Right. And you're considered a pioneer, the first to brand a New York City gym with something other than fluorescent lighting and peppy primary colors. Instead, you created the gym as nightclub experience, attracting, like you say, fashionistas, club personalities, and many A-list celebrities. It sort of became like the Studio 54 of the fitness industry. When did you realize that you had an instant hit on your hands?
By the way, it's a great compliment compared to Studio 54. I also got that compliment from the former owner of Studio 54, which is, one of the best compliments I've ever gotten was that he compared
Schrager
my first gym to, he compared it to Studio.
Yeah.
And when did I realize I had a hit? I opened this gym, just glad I could somehow get this thing open, with my pillowcase full of money, trainer savings, and I got this thing open, spent every penny, slept on the floor of the place while I was building it. I'd run out and open up a folding card table on the sidewalk to sell some memberships to finish paying workers, and I built it myself with some, inexpensive labor. So I got it open on day one. No one came. I didn't care. I was just so happy to have the gym. Day 2, no nothing.
Yeah, it was a passion
Um,
play for you.
yeah, day 3, nobody came, and I was just working every job there myself. And I had hired a staff. I trained them all myself. The trainers I trained myself, dressed them, styled them, taught them how to speak, and taught people how to answer the phone. And so I had the staff there that had to get paid, and I just hoped that I'd be able to make payroll. Day
Yeah.
5, there was a line around the block to join.
Yeah. What was that tipping point?
Don't know, like kind of word got out. There was a tipping point where just one person told another, and just people, a few people came, and then a few more, and suddenly there was a line, to people joining. It became this sort of who's who. I thought it was going to be, club kids, and there was in the morning there were limousines lined up outside, and people come from the Upper East Side. I opened it up in June of 1992, and the following, I guess it's February, the New York Times did a big piece. And I've been like, it had been covered in the media. There was some, like, the columns were covering, like, who was working out there. But the New York Times did a piece and said, you're a nobody till somebody who's somebody sees you working out at this gym. And this front page of the style section piece, it just, after that, it was like opening the floodgates, to the point where the place was so packed with people that I was worried that the space would explode.
So you opened up a second club a few years later in 1995 and a third in Miami the same year.
Yes.
Further clubs that followed: New York, Chicago, Seattle. Why were you confident that the concept and vibe would scale outside of New York City?
I'm just wired with too much confidence. That's why I had no idea. Really, looking back on it, it was really rolling the dice, to see whether it would play in Chicago, which is such a different psychographic than New York. I mean, it's very, it looks like New York, but it ain't New York. And it worked, why I was confident, this was a brand play. And I just saw there were some markets where people were living in places like, Chelsea and the Village and Tribeca. And, there was a sort of a, neighborhoods which felt a little more like the people who lived there were in more creative fields. They were in advertising or like,
right.
Art, music, theater, stuff like that. You wasn't just your corporate-y neighborhood. So there was this sort of markets that I thought would be on the right wavelength, and it was a brand play. I went into those markets as opposed to doing a clustering of gyms in a specific geographic location.
Yeah. And those at the time familiar with your brand knew the David Barton gym tagline of "Look Better Naked." How did that slogan translate into your gym's signature philosophies?
I always felt that no matter what people say when they come to join the gym, whether it's for their health or longevity, those were all very welcome side effects of working out. But in the end, what really motivates somebody to step into the gym on that first day is the desire to just look in the mirror and know that you like what you see naked. And, I came up with it because my first ad that I ever bought in the Village Voice, I had to pay. I think if I remember correctly, I had to pay by the letter. So
right.
It was just terse. It was a short and pithy message, look better naked. So I took an ad, look better naked. I just put the address on the bottom. I didn't even put the name of the gym on there. And I won this advertising award, an international print advertising award called the RAC Awards. And I didn't win first place, but it was some award where there was, thousands of contestants. And I knew that it was something that resonated, and I still used it to this day.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like something David Ogilvy would come up with, but it was a good line. So did you enjoy being the CEO of your company?
No, I fell into that by default. I kind of did everything, I really, maybe too hands-on. I like doing the creative stuff. It gave me an opportunity to design gyms and write ad copy and do photo shoots and, all these things that I really did love. As far as being the CEO, I'm probably a terrible boss. I would have been a great king, I think. Management, like day-to-day management, is not my thing. I did enjoy the strategy. I don't like counting the hands in the room,
right.
But I do like thinking about how I could invent the future of gyms.
Yeah, the bigger
And
picture.
that's what I really have tried to do, just push this business into modernity, because it's notoriously lagging in its ability to keep up with even science. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just behind. It's really behind.
Yeah, and you expanded the brand nationally, but competitive fitness market forces made it tough to stay afloat. You stepped away from your namesake company after 22 years in 2013 and also signed over the rights to the David Barton name. But a few years later, you embarked on a new journey, opening Temple TMPL Gym
Yeah.
in New York's Hell's Kitchen. It was billed as a smart gym. So what was the difference about the Temple Gym experience than the David Barton gym?
So so I started working on Temple before I left David Barton Gym. I'd been there 20 years. I made a deal to exit with my investors. They were going in a direction that was a little more, I really tried to have an alternative to the chain movement. They were making a little more of a chain. So we didn't see eye to eye, and I started coming up with the idea of Temple. Every business is going to be different when you hire different people to run. It's kind of like show business, the way I look at it is show business. So this is a little bit of a different script and different set. And
Right.
It was a little more grown up. It was smart. And then I applied some more metabolic science to allow people to zero in on the process with regard to, achieving their goals. Like, so they could really analyze their metabolism. David Barton Gym had a tiny bit of this sort of downtown snobbery, I guess, I hate to say it, but it was very much, did have this sort of imaginary invisible velvet rope, where Temple was a little more inclusive, or leveraged some technologies that had just not been, a part of the thing before. So it was different. It was an evolution of what I'd already been doing.
And you sold Temple in 2017, and now you're back 6 years later, entering the Thunderdome of New York City's fitness scene once more with Gym U. You've returned to Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood with a reinvention of the same space your fitness facility occupied until a decade ago. What is Gym U, and what's different about its approach to health and training?
Well, first of all, yeah. So I live in Chelsea. I've been here a long time, and so this is that space it's in my neighborhood. Like, I know everyone in the neighborhood. I know the names of their dogs. I mean, I'm really like a part of the neighborhood, and so it was really appealing to have something, in my backyard. So like kind of building my own gym for myself, everything that I would love. So the past few years, I thought I was kind of retired from the gym business. I've been doing some design work. I designed a gym in Moscow, which I can't go. I built a gym in Moscow during the pandemic, which of course now I can't go there.
Right.
But it's beautiful. It's called Anvil, and it's a phenomenal place. It's the kind of thing, I was ready to retire from the gym business and do some other things. And I was able to get this space back. And I love this location. I love this space. I've just gotten better at what I do. I was traveling a lot, and everything I saw out there that was lacking in the New York gym business, I brought into you. And there was some great equipment. There was some great technology. There was a company called Precision Health Alliance that does epigenetic analysis of people. If they want it, they can do that when they come in to better understand how the body works. There's something called the Newbie, which is a electric muscle stimulation machine. And I'm working with those when our trainers are using it on clients. And there's a lot of technology I'm doing. I brought in these people called Fuel Stop that do IV therapy and some recovery stuff. It's amazing. So there's a lot of things that really sort of close the loop and allow somebody to really, get the most out of their time in the gym, as well as really very focused on hiring the best people I've had over the last 20, 30 years. I've got people who are still with me from 1992 when I first opened my gym. So I've collected like the best people, and I think sort of the best of everything. I'm really striving to do everything in this gym that I would really want in a gym that is my gym, and which it is. It's like where I go every day and work out.
And when you first opened your gym in the 90s, you said your goal was to make it okay for cool people to go to the gym again. So what's the goal of Gym U?
Well, certainly there was a different time then. There were very few gyms in New York, and a lot of people didn't work out. Today, like most people do work out. During the pandemic, a lot of people, one, they started taking better care of themselves, but they also gave it a shot working out on their own, and it sort of didn't take. very difficult to work out in your apartment, as people found, I believe, what I've seen. So there was really a pent up need for people to go out and have not just go to the gym and work out, but have a social environment that's been missing, for years, and is harder to find at a time when shopping and working and just about everything one does,
Right.
you can do from home on your laptop. So it's very focused on creating a community, an environment, a place where people feel comfortable and taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
That might sound vague, but it's where a lot of my resources are applied. Tangible outcome of going to the gym, which of course we focus on somebody being able to achieve something for their body. But then there's the subjective experience, which it's a tougher part of what I would consider, quote unquote, getting it right. And I know when I've gotten it right because I walk into this place and I feel like I'm in the right place at the right time. Like I've just walked into the best party in town. How I can really define that, it's like, why does this song not sound good if you rearrange the notes? I don't know how to define that, but I know when I see it or hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen Gym U called a luxury gym. What makes Gym U a luxury brand?
I don't know what that really means, luxury brand. But I think the way we take care of people is, the service is casual, but it's exceptional. And the gym feels like a gym. It's gritty, but it's got that hint of glamour. It's not fancy. It's not precious. There's nothing about it that feels like you wouldn't want to go in there and just let your hair down and pump iron and grunt and scream. And it's where people, I think, feel pampered at the same time.
Right.
The other day, there was a member who was yelling at one of my managers about not having the right collar, which is that thing you put on the end of a bar to hold the plates on.
Yep.
And within 15 minutes, we had those collars in the gym, on the gym floor, that this one guy liked. So people are really attended to with alacrity. It's just a level of customer service that I think I've gotten good at over the past few decades.
So say I purchase a Gym U membership package. So give me a snapshot of the unique fitness and health experiences that I should expect within the walls of your property.
So first, there's a visual experience, and I think the shortcut to the imagination is through the visual pathway. So you come in and you see something, the scale is such, and the visual design will hopefully transport you to know that you're not a part of the outside of those four walls any longer. You're not at work. You're not at home. You're not in Kansas anymore. Hopefully made to feel very at home by the staff. The equipment is exceptional. There's a company from Italy called Panada, for instance, that makes equipment that is, I can only compare it to a Ferrari compared to a Chevy. It's handmade in Italy, and the mechanics have been rethought, and it's something that the members actually love. It's trainers and the training. There's I think, a great crowd on the gym floor. The music is very carefully curated. The sound is great. All the senses are being considered. The scale of the space is so important. Everything that goes into hopefully allowing your imagination to be stimulated. And I want somebody to come in and be able to imagine how they're going to feel on day 100, not on day 2 when muscles are sore and they're out a few bucks.
Well, new technology in gyms is transforming the member experience. Members are expecting more and more of gyms as their own personal tech grows and changes. What state-of-the-art technology have you invested in for Gym U?
Maybe the most interesting thing and the most effective. Not many times in my gym life have I seen something that really made me stop and take notice of something that's going to change my life. There's this machine called the Newbie, which it's something that can render the 1-hour workout into a 10-minute workout where the results will be the same or better, where you can use a 10-pound dumbbell instead of a 40-pound dumbbell, save the joints and get the same outcome for the muscles. And it's an electrical muscle stimulation machine, but using direct current. It's not like people have seen these TENS or stim machines in physical therapist's office, which just use AC current. They contract the muscle. Again, I don't want to get too techy here, but it's something that really can completely alter what you can get out of going to the gym and working out. They'll immediately see a machine called the ARX, which is about the size of a car, and it's adaptive resistance, computerized, motorized. It tests the strength that one is able to produce and or the strength you have and the force one's able to produce, and apply that force so that somebody can see on a computer screen how hard they're working. But yeah, I think people will be aware that whatever's out there that's good, I've leveraged in you.
I haven't seen the space yet, but I read that the building's design was inspired by films like Fritz Lang's 1927 Metropolis, Orson Welles' noir Lady from Shanghai, and Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon, a kind of an industrial dystopian future aesthetic. How important is the design, lighting, and auditory components of Gym U to the whole entire experience?
I mean, how important was Stanley Kubrick to Barry Lyndon? It's what really creates the experience. So, I mean, design is probably a misnomer because it is the visceral experience. So, walking in, somebody's heart should get pumping before they ever, start pumping iron. And the movies, well, Metropolis, which is this German, expressionist, film, like I said, from 1927, is this futuristic vision of Fritz Lang with this really sort of deco style. And it really came to mind when I had a second look at the space. Like, this was a David Barton gym up until 2013. When I left the company, it became a Crunch for 10 years. So I completely redone it. Metropolis really came to mind, as well as Barry Lyndon with the lighting. Lady from Shanghai, the use of mirrors, which is Orson Welles' movie that you're obviously familiar with. And these movies sort of come to mind or they don't, but the creative impulse happens very quickly. And these movies just.
So when you sat down with your architects and creative teams, did you bring those movies up, or how did you communicate your vision to them?
I didn't sit down with anyone. I started designing this myself. I'd done some design work on my own. I really designed to some extent all my gyms in the past. I did have some great people I worked with, Bill Sofield, Benita Kaczerski. I've worked with some great people. More and more, I did a lot of the design myself, and I designed this one in Moscow completely on my own. So this one I was doing on my own. I did have some help. Charles Renfro of Dillis Scofidio Renfro, who's a friend, came in and helped me out with some of the detail, and he's been amazing. Stephen Alton, another architect. Rose Wood, who is the best finishing restorer of furniture and finishes. She's incredible. Focus Lighting, who did the lighting. They're been amazing to work with. Yes, I did talk about the movies, and we spent probably a good portion of our time talking about Metropolis and Barry Lyndon, which is, this like beautifully lit film. I sketch on envelopes. I doodle on an iPad. But mostly it's walking around and pointing and saying, like, it's really like drawing on the wall and saying, let's do this here. I'm big into mock-ups. I mock up everything before we do it. So I just go around with cans of paint and finishes, materials and things, and play around a lot before we pull the trigger.
And mushrooms seem to be a big thing there. The mushrooms have landed on many trends forecasters' predictions lists as the ingredient of the year. It seems that you've jumped on that trend. So can you talk about the mushroom themed cafe that you have set up at Gym U and what it offers?
So yeah, it's called the Mushroom, and I'm doing it's just about ready. We just finished. The gym's only been open for a few months, so this is the last thing to open. It's this lounge, which is called the Mushroom, and it's a bar, lounge, juice bar, etc. Mushroom theme. So I have medicinal mushrooms. My partner in this venture, Bill Gilroy of Employees Only,
Right.
His son has this mushroom company, and so they have access to these incredible mushrooms, the health benefits of which are enormous. And there's just it's just a very current, fighting world that we're just discovering, this whole world of mushrooms. So I think this is the first, lounge devoted to the mushroom itself. I think it'll be really fun and exciting. It'll have a little bit of a psychedelic hippie vibe going on. A little Timothy Leary, a little Haight-Ashbury in the 1969, a little psychedelia. Yeah, I mean, it all fits together in a way, it's it fits together and it doesn't. And so you can go from one sort of world into another in this place. And I try to keep it fun and exciting, and I hope it works.
Studio gyms like Barry's Boot Camp, Orange Theory Fitness, and Planet Fitness have been rapidly setting up shop in city neighborhoods and vacant shopping malls to attract younger generation of consumers, increasingly looking to build wellness and experience-oriented lifestyles. Is this your competition?
Not so much. I don't find that it's a choice for people between a studio and Gym U. So the studios, it's a tough business and one that I've always stayed away from. It's tough in New York, given the just the cost structure. What a place like that, a studio by its nature has to be sort of a one-trick pony because it's a studio. You can't have a mushroom cafe and a bunch of cool equipment and 50 trainers and big locker rooms that give somebody space to hang out and pamper themselves. So, it's really, you do the studios, usually there's a class, and that's really what they have. And so I think because of that, they are forced to come off as maybe a bit gimmicky. Nothing against them. Listen, I respect like anyone who's made it in that business. It's like impressive, but I don't find that it's the same customer. Somebody who just gets into doing like a specific kind of a class versus somebody who goes to a gym where they can really pursue kind of all their workout.
And with gyms and fitness centers shutting down during the most severe moments of the pandemic, the home gym equipment sector got a boost as people sought to take their workouts indoors. Many gravitated towards connected or smart fitness devices like Peloton and NordicTrack, Technogym, etc., Mirror. When these gyms started reopening, people stopped buying and using exercise equipment with the same enthusiasm they had in the spring of 2020. In this post-pandemic world, how is Gym U appealing to this audience who thought that these at-home digital exercise devices were forever going to change how we work out?
Hey, man, I've designed and built a lot of gyms for people in their home gyms to go into their living room or their extra space that they have in their apartment. Invariably, the equipment winds up as a coat hanger. Yeah. It's very hard to work out at home. It's I did it during the pandemic, and I can tell you it wasn't easy for me. There's distractions, and I think people really gave it a valiant effort during the pandemic to work out at home or on their own. And like I said, it's not easy. For people who can do it, it's great. Get up in the morning and walk over to the home gym and exercise. It's great. I just don't know that many people who've been able to pull it off.
Yeah.
And I think people, like I said, what else do you do in life today that requires that you're around other people, where there's interaction and eye contact and fear of rejection, whatever else like people need to function as human social creatures, other than the gym and dancing. It's a hard thing there's everything could be done at home, and moving further in that direction.
And like any gym, maintaining high levels of gym motivation among your members is crucial for increasing retention and overall satisfaction with their gym experience. But motivation is a complex and personal concept that a variety of internal and external factors can influence. So how are you looking to effectively motivate your members to keep retention rates high?
Great question. We try to engage with people. My first job as a trainer, I had this guy, sit me down, and he said, if you want to keep a client, show him a little something in the mirror, that little cut between the deltoid and the tricep. There's this little indentation where the deltoid meets the tricep and the bicep. There's a little line there that like people, men and women, like to see. So get him that little cut, get him or her that cut, and they'll be yours forever. And that very simple truism, I think, can be applied to, in general, the whatever it is that motivates people to keep coming. If you see a change in the mirror, that's really going to be what motivates somebody. Longevity is a hard thing for people to really like deal with on a day-to-day basis. But like improving how you look is just, for some reason, that's the catnip. That's what gives you that short-term, desire to, get up and get your ass out of bed and into the gym, or skipping lunch and going to work out, or that's where Look Better Naked comes in. It's really, people all get it. They're like, well, I get it.
Yeah. You've said in a recent interview, I've studied, experimented, read, taught, and contemplated, and there is no qualification that prepares someone for the alchemy and magic of a gym that actually works. Why do you think Gym U has the right formula to be something extraordinary?
I don't, again, I don't know. I just know it does. I don't know. There's a million and one details, and which is the magical one without which it wouldn't work, I don't know. But it's I know that it's working. I smell it. It's like, it's good. I go around and I feel it. I talk to the members. I know it's working. It's in, look, I see it in the numbers, but I feel it when I walk around the gym. And it's something in the air. It's like people want to be there. Can't tell you like why it works, but there's like, every little thing is attended to, every detail. I don't think there's anyone there who feels neglected. And I guess I keep coming back to that sort of engagement with the members, but it's a lot of members. It's a big big group of people to try and like sort of do the best you can to make sure every single one of them's happy, and that's what the business kind of boils down to for me.
So how would you like to see Gym U grow in the next 5 years?
I don't know yet, and I enjoy not knowing. I've got this one place, I want to make it perfect. I've got some ideas. I'm talking to some people. One thing I have no lack of is ideas, and I don't know what's next. I don't know if I could describe it. I have some thoughts, but it might sound ridiculous or crazy. If I had a buck for every time somebody told me something was impossible or ridiculous, I'd be like, I'd be super rich. Remember when I was coming up with David Barton Gym, and I'm telling like somebody, no, it's not a gym, it's a state of mind. Oh, and they're like, yeah. Like, so do you get it? And like, David, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking
about. And you were talking about Moscow before. Do you see Gym U expanding outside the US?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not psyched to jump on a plane and go checking out gyms in other places, but there's some really interesting markets, and it'll be fun to see Gym U, in some of those places. So I'll see. Right now, like I said, I walk across the street to go to work. Literally right across the street. It's great. With David Barton Gym, I had to jump on a plane. I'd go to Miami, Chicago, LA, Seattle, Vegas, and it was a trip, literally a trip. I mean, it was a trip. I had to go, I had to go from place to place and check on my gyms and work with people. I trained salespeople and trainers and worked with managers, and it's, I had it to do over again. I'd love to have gyms where I could get to every place on the train,
David Barton, founder of Gym U, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.